Hey, Forever family.
Hi, guys.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to you fathers.
Are you looking and saying, what on earth is happening? Well, actually, nobody's
Nobody's
on
looking
with us.
because
Nobody's looking.
it's Father's Day.
But when you go back and watch this, oh, look, my mom is the one person watching.
How pathetic is that?
Hi, Mom.
My mom is watching.
Okay, so you might be confused because this is usually where Johnny and Jenny sit, and you're thinking, what on earth is happening? Well, let us tell you what's happening. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and identify.
I'm Ken. I am a grateful believer in Jesus, struggling with anger, codependence, control, and overeating.
Hi, Ken.
Hi, Meaghan.
And my name is Meaghan. I'm a grateful believer. I'm in recovery for codependency, perfectionism, and compulsive behavior. We are having a thing right now. It's a bit of a situation.
It's a bit of a weird thing.
So there's a reason why we are at Johnny and Jenny Baker's. There are a few people from the national team who are actually here to help prepare for our summit, which is coming up July 30 to 31st, the Come Rejoice, Celebrate Recovery Summit. We're very excited about it. We hope that you're going. We hope that you're going to join us online. So we have some of the national team here. That is, we're all kind of gathering and preparing and praying over the event and stuff like that. But this is how we're gathering. So we actually are gathering like this.
Hello.
Hello. We've taken these off for Facebook Live.
And because we're family.
And so we're going to talk about the summit. We're not necessarily going to talk totally about the summit that is coming. There's also like kids and there's a dog and there's a lot happening. So if it sounds noisy, that's just because it's kind of a party. So first, let's talk about Celebrate Recovery. Let's talk about what it's looking like a little bit now for our Celebrate Recovery as a ministry leader. Do you want to share what we started at Saddleback this week?
Sure. I know that for a lot of you, you may have started back going to church. I've even heard that some large groups have started back up.
Depending on the state and within the regulations.
Yes, ma'am. In California, we are still restricted that way. Saddleback Church has not opened back up as of yet. However, we as Celebrate Recovery, because we have Pastor John as an elder at our church,
Pastor Rick cares deeply.
And Pastor Rick really cares about Celebrate Recovery. We have gotten permission to meet socially distant from one another with masks in our courtyard. So we're in the courtyard, we're in a park area, and we're in the baptismal area.
For newcomers. Yeah, so it was different. I will tell you, as a ministry leader, anything new makes me nervous. I'm sure many of you can, that resonates with you. But I think we were meeting outside, so I was worried about anonymity and confidentiality. We were far apart wearing masks. Right. I was worried that people wouldn't be able to hear. Essentially, as a shepherd, I was concerned, but God is so amazing the way that he works things out. So we got together on both Thursday and Friday of this past week, and our team, our coaches, and our leaders, they showed up and they were so ready to serve. And so it was good to be together. And there was even, at one point we had a gentleman show up, and we're in these big circles 6 feet apart. So there's like 8 chairs 6 feet apart. And there's a gentleman who came, we're outside, and he's like, yeah, I'm not comfortable. And we're like, we get it. And he's like, I'm going to stick with my CR group. And we said, absolutely, because we have to do what's best for us in our recovery. So we're still maintaining our CR online groups. We're having some meetings on our campus. It was so good. It was so hard not to hug. It was so hard not to shake hands. It was so hard not to do all of those things, but it was great to be together.
It really was.
Yeah, so I hope it'd be interesting, ministry leaders, and just in the comments, why don't you share maybe what you're doing at your Celebrate Recovery, and knowing that we all fall under the local church, so it's what our pastors, what our church says that we can do. We want to make sure that we're doing it under their authority, but everyone's kind of trying to meet the needs of people. There's a lot of hurts going on through this pandemic, and we had 15 newcomers on Friday night because people are really wanting a place that is safe for them to share. So that's one of the amazing things about this particular ministry that we're excited about.
Yeah. And hey, maybe you've never checked in here before. You just happen to fall upon this and you're like, who are these people and what is happening? we want to let you know that Celebrate Recovery is a Christ-centered recovery program for people who are wrestling and struggling in their lives with hurts, habits, and hang-ups. You guys all know what a hurt is. Today being Father's Day, perhaps you are in a position where this is something that is hurting and not a point of celebration for you. We all know what a hurt is. And if we don't deal with those one way, we have to deal with them another. And the other way we deal with them is by developing hang-ups in our lives, which are coping mechanisms for the most part. And some of them are semi-destructive and some of them are very destructive. But all of them make our lives unmanageable at some point. And then habits, if you don't deal with enough of your hang-ups, you've got nothing but coping mechanism in your life like I had, then you become somebody who looks for ways to escape. And really the only ways to escape can be habit forming in our lives. And then our lives become supremely unmanageable and we need help.
We definitely
And Celebrate Recovery is a great place to find that.
It's a safe place to find that. And it's interesting because at the summit I'm going to be talking about working our recovery in an ever-changing world. And as I was writing and putting it together, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of stuff that this quarantine, that the social unrest, that the racial injustice, there's a lot of stuff that has been brought up, a lot of emotions. And I'm finding myself wanting to deny it, like just go and read a book and not even think about it, or getting so overwhelmed that I have a temptation to look on Amazon and see, hey, maybe I need something new. And so it's really interesting. Life is filled with change, but we are definitely in a unique season of change. And it was a good kind of self-check for me. How am I in my recovery? Where am I in working my own recovery? Because first and foremost, we're here because we need help, because I realized that my life was unmanageable. And I earnestly believe that God exists and that I matter to him and that he has the power to help me recover. So we're excited for the summit. And actually, our daughter is here. She's going to go out and get one of our guests that are going to join us because we're going to talk about the summit. But before we do that, and you can do that, Rodney, go get Rodney. Why don't you tell me a summit memory that you've had in the past? I know it's different this year because we're doing it online. Different doesn't necessarily mean bad. Different can be so amazing. Think how many more people can join us. But tell us.
I will. You can hear what's happening.
You can hear. It's bananas.
Rodney, come, my friend.
Rodney, my friend.
My friend. I am going to leave.
He's going to leave. Rodney's coming. Hello, Rodney.
Are we live?
We're live. Rodney.
How are you guys?
Hey,
Meaghan,
how are
I'm
you?
Rodney.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And
Okay,
there's Lucy.
yes. Yeah,
So
Lucy wants to be.
So Rodney, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
So Rodney, you know him as a national director. He is actually a leadership mentor of mine. At my very first summit, Rodney actually did a breakout group that was about leadership to talk about a SWOT. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
Just like developing how to be a leader. And he has continued to mentor me in these past 5 years, whether he knew it or not. It was happening. So I want to know, as a ministry leader, can you tell us a little bit about what you've done in your Celebrate Recovery? What does that look like?
Yeah, and we're going to unpack this even more at the summit. Talk more about this, but yeah, we're not meeting right now. We're still doing online CRCR groups. We are doing our step studies outside. We started meeting in person again. And somebody asked me, what are you doing with that? Well, we kind of recapped where we were to kind of get us acclimated to the step study group again. And then we picked up with the questions, and we've been meeting a couple weeks now outside answering the questions. And man, it's been so good. We keep social distance. We wear our masks until we sit down, take them off. We do our group, put them back on, go to our cars. But it's been really cool. The chip night, I know you're doing the chip night.
Well, you know why I'm doing the chip night? Because this guy did the chip night. I follow him and I follow his CR on social media because he's got such great ideas. And I saw the chip night and I texted him. I was like, how do you do that?
Yes.
Give me all this stuff.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so every week we've kind of opened it up to, blue chips, regular chips, and then just come by and say hi. We printed up a little scripture cards to kind of say, hey, we love you, and kind of who I am in Christ kind of thing. But it's been really neat, and I've tried to encourage my team. Some weeks we don't have a ton of people, and we do it every week. I think you're doing it once a month.
Yeah, once a month. But we only do chips once a month, and your CR
and
does
we
chips
do them
every week.
Yeah, so we decided to kind of keep that rhythm going, and we don't have a ton of people pick up chips every week, and I just had to really keep our team focused on the why. And there was a guy that really confirmed this. He started coming 4 weeks ago, fresh out of rehab. And he drove through, and he had his wife in the passenger seat. He had his daughter and his son in the back seat, and they're just grinning ear to ear and almost kind of holding their dad with love, because he was kind of fragile, fresh out of rehab. And he said, I've heard about Celebrate Recovery, and I want to be a part of this ministry. And I gave him a blue chip, and every week he's come back. And this past Friday, he picked up a 30-day coin, and his family was just cheering in the car, and he's asking about step study groups, and it was just like, okay, God, we're kind of a numbers-driven society, and but that was just a reminder that it's about every soul, and if it's just one soul, it's worth it. You know, who's that person that you've been praying for? If that's the person that comes, would you say it was kind of a wasted night, it wasn't really worth it? But no, it means a lot to have that one person. So we love the chip night. It's been a fun thing. It's a great way for our team to kind of connect and, you know, social distance, but to be able to see humans.
Yes, it's good to see the humans. That's what when we saw each other, because it's been a minute.
It was
we're like
I didn't know humans still existed.
Because Rodney and his wife Carol and Ken and I we've always said if we lived in the same state we would be best friends.
Oh my gosh,
he's like a brother to me, and to be able to be together. But we also want to be responsible. That's the thing, that we want to be responsible. And I know that with the chip night, that's such a good focus, because we can be focused on numbers. It doesn't matter if you're, our home church, my home church is 12,000 people. That's a lot. That doesn't mean that I need to be at, every person matters. Every soul matters. That newcomer, we've had a few come to take that newcomer chip, and those are the ones where we have all as in that gauntlet, we've been crying. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing for the summit.
Well, I'm going to be speaking on a couple different things. One is compassion fatigue, and I think it's appropriate just thinking about, I don't know about you, but I've been feeling some compassion fatigue with all the hurt going on in the world. And man, as I dug into this topic, I just thought, man, this is good, God's timing topic. So I'm going to be talking about compassion fatigue and what are the indicators of that, and what can we do to deal with our compassion fatigue. So I'm excited about that one. Another one is...
I'm really excited about that one. Yeah. I feel like it's so timely and so important.
Yeah, it's ministered to my heart just prepping for it, so I'm excited about that. The other one is shame, and how shame connects to compulsive behaviors.
Oh, that's going to be so good for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's going to be good for you too.
And then the third one I'm doing with Johnny and Mac, and that's re-engaging our Celebrate Recovery, kind of what we're talking about right now. What are some things that we can do to help? It almost feels like, I've told my group, we need to almost treat this like we're launching for the first time and kind of taking that approach. And so we want to give you guys some tips on how to do that, and how do we continue to motivate our leaders. We were talking about this earlier.
We were just talking about it at dinner.
If some of my leaders something shifts in their life, and now I don't have the same leadership base, how do I do that? Because I still have to do ministry. And so we want to give you some good tips and really equip you guys to be able to run your ministry effectively coming out of this COVID, because it's a hard time.
It's a hard transition, and I also think that the compassion fatigue is real for us as leaders. I know that Carol, Ken, and I have a text where we will encourage when I will just say pray, and we know, and we're about it, and praying for each other. And
I've sent those to you guys.
I know, and we've sent it to you too. I mean, it's a hard time. It's a hard time for those of you that are leading in Celebrate Recovery. It's a hard time for those of us that have relapsed or struggled, or leaders that have felt disconnected. And so to talk about what that looks like, and that it might not look like what it had looked like, but because Jesus is our one and only higher power, and he is the same yesterday, today, and forever, that we can trust that this is not news to him. He's not, this isn't an online summit. God is not surprised. We're surprised.
Exactly. We've been asking our team this, challenging them to think about what are the things that we need to start doing because of COVID. We have a new opportunity to start doing something new, the way we interact, the way we reach people. So what do we need to start? What do we need to stop doing? Sometimes we kind of have these sacred cows, right? Maybe we need to let that die, what we used to do at the form in which we reach people or ran our ministry. And then what is something that we need to just continue to improve and really just evaluate it and honestly say, this has cracks in it, or this is going well, let's keep doing it, or we need to maybe work on making this better.
Yeah.
So those are some questions that we're asking on the local level.
Right? Because that's, you and I get the privilege and honor of, I think that's also why at the beginning you and Sabrina and I were very much talking to one another.
Gosh,
We're also,
what are you doing?
How are you doing this? What does this look like? And just
panic.
wanting to know, right? Because yes, we get to do this beautiful big picture national where we get to serve you, which is an honor, but we're also shepherding our own flock.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
all right, Rodney, thank
out.
you.
Good to see you
Yay!
guys.
Rodney, I've got another very, very special guest. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? The one, the only, Cheryl Luke. Cheryl.
Hey, everybody.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
You know the most important question that I'm going to ask you first and foremost.
Tell me.
Who is your favorite, me or Johnny Baker? She can't answer, but we know. But we know. It's
Ken Grider.
It's Ken Grider. Did you hear Ken over there yelling? Okay, so Cheryl.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
I love you.
Like we haven't had a.
I know, we haven't had a minute.
Yeah.
We need a minute. So here's the first thing I want to say is celebrate recovery and celebrate recovery.
Yes.
You need yourself a person. And this is my person.
This is my person.
This is my person that I call, that I text. I've got a few, some of you may be on there
Yeah.
from my current CR, my old
Yeah.
CR. But this is a lady who's also in leadership at a large church.
Yes.
You're a pastor at a large church and have, you have a lot that you're doing. So this is my person, and that's, we all need to get one.
Yeah.
We all need to get one. So I want to ask you, scoot a little bit closer. I know we're supposed to social distance, but I want you in the camera. So tell me what you're talking about at the summit.
Oh, I am going to be talking about the practicality of renewing your mind.
Nice.
You know, so many times in our Christian circles, we hear that phrase. We go to Romans and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. But we don't really have steps to do that. And so I'm going to talk about what it looks like and provide you with the steps to do that in a way that is easy, in a way that is biblical. And it will help you change the way you think, which will in fact in turn help you change the way you behave and react towards others.
I think what everyone who has heard you speak and those who have been in your presence understands is that you have such a depth of wisdom.
Thank you.
And when you speak, there's a strength behind it. And I don't know if I told you this the other day, but so if you get the alerts, the text alerts that Facebook Live is happening, we will announce that Cheryl's going to be on, and she's got this beautiful voice, right? So I think a couple times it said our singing angel and things like that, which is all true because you're just this deep and warm woman. But I think what can get lost in that is that you are a national director. You are. You focus on cultural communities, which is so deep and intense. Right. And I think you're doing something new on your national cultural communities page. Yes. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So if you guys go to the cultural communities page
on Facebook,
Simon Hunt and myself are.
He's so great.
Isn't he?
Simon's great.
Else? We are interviewing people and we're telling short stories. And we talked to Meaghan and Ken Grider. We talked to Domingo from Arizona, and we talked to Jillian Roberts from Austin, Texas, and just telling short stories. And sometimes I think when we come to Summit or we go to our own Celebrate Recoveries, and we don't get to hear stories nationally. And so we are just telling short stories about our forever family and helping people see that life happens across the country pretty much in the same way. Recovery happens across the country in pretty much the same way.
So it's across the country, and it can encourage us as we're listening to stories that might be different than us to walk across the room, because that's something that you and I have talked about a lot. That's how we met. That's how we became friends. We were at our first summit together
in Tennessee.
Neither of us had ever gone to a summit in that capacity before, and we had no idea what we were doing. No idea what we were doing. And so
But we were obedient and we showed up.
We showed up and we said, we didn't know each other at all. And I think I was there half a day before you.
Yes.
So I knew one thing.
I
knew to get the packet.
We
knew to get the packet. So she came with her suitcase and she just showed up for the airport. And I'm always nervous that people are going to think I'm strange, because I am. I have like a
strange.
I'm
You're eccentric.
I'm eccentric.
She's
I'm a little kooky, a little bit bananas, and so I was nervous to just walk across the room and be like, "Hey," because maybe she had been there and I didn't know, and maybe you were fancy.
And not fancy.
She's 100% fancy, and so I walked across the room.
Yeah.
And it was helpful because there was an encouragement in your face. And gosh, did God bond us through that process.
Like, we have not been separated from our hearts, from a heart perspective, since then.
We shared our stories.
We did.
My dad had just recently passed, and it actually happened in Tennessee.
Yes.
And I had gone to that church where we were doing the summit the day after he died, to that Celebrate Recovery, and I got to share that with you.
Right.
And we did a lot of driving together.
We had barbecue.
We had barbecue
on the other side of town.
On the other side of town.
Awesome.
That was interesting, and because I think you're talking about some other things at the summit too that you and my husband and my family and I have been talking about with you for a few years.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a little
Is that
bit?
the couch conversation?
Yes.
Yeah. So Jenny Baker and I are going to talk about the details and the direction that we're going with cultural communities, and I'm so thrilled, Meaghan, to have been working and planning this with Jenny. She is on fire. She is lit in terms of making sure that Celebrate Recovery is presented well in areas where we haven't found footing. And listen, it's not just Jenny. It's Pastor John, it's Cheryl, it's Jenny, it's Johnny, Rodney, Carol.
I would
it's
say Matt, Mary, everyone.
And so I'm really excited to have that conversation. You guys aren't going to want to miss that couch conversation.
It's important because in our country right now, there are people having conversations and there are people not having conversations.
Yes.
There are those that are choosing to listen and learn and lament and leverage, and then there are those that are not. So, and there's some great resources out there for that, but it's going to be amazing to have you guys have that conversation, because that is Jenny's heart.
Yes, it is.
And I know that you have boldly walked to where God wants you, and that can be not the most comfortable thing for you.
It's not the most comfortable thing, but I have to say that we are positioned in Celebrate Recovery to have these conversations because we're a ministry of reconciliation. And I think that a lot of people aren't comfortable necessarily going there. And I'm okay with that. I'm even okay if you don't agree with where we're going. At the end of the day, we're all going to end up at the same place in heaven. And we have to figure out how to have adult, holy conversations and agree to disagree if that's where we land, or agree and move forward. And Pastor John and Cheryl have given us the platform, and they've given us leverage to walk in a way that I believe is God's plan for this ministry.
Absolutely. Well, I think it starts with a personal recovery, to a communal recovery, to a national recovery. And if we have learned anything through this pandemic and through this process, where many of us, our eyes are being opened for the very first time, we need national recovery. We need national recovery. And also to reach the younger generation, to talk about these things. Because listen, the younger generation, we all have hurts, hang-ups, and habits. We all have things that we're enslaved to. And we don't say different things. We just say it in a different way to reach different generations, different cultures, right? We're saying the same thing. I mean, Paul did that all the time in the Bible, right? He shifted what he not what he was saying, but how he was saying it. It was the same message. It's just delivered in a different way.
I was thinking today about this message and how there's a whole generation that's coming after us because we happen to be the older generation.
Get out! You are not the favorite. We already established I am the favorite. Get out!
Okay.
Get out!
Cheryl, you don't have to say anything. Just smile. Okay,
No,
good.
she's
That's it.
okay. Go ahead.
What I was saying is, we have this generation who's coming after us, and they are go-getters. They are they're dream defenders in so many ways. But what we can't do in light of that, and knowing that generation is coming, we can't just embrace them and forget the generation that came before
Right.
them, came before us.
Right.
And so finding words,
Yep.
finding, without clouding the message,
Right.
finding processes and ways to come together is, I think, going to be key in this. And I'm
Because the
excited.
DNA doesn't change.
Ever.
Ever.
The message
The
doesn't change.
process of recovery
Yeah.
doesn't change.
Yes.
It might be how we're looking at it.
Yes.
You know, at Saddleback, we had a mini-moni of one of our leaders and ministry leaders at one of our campuses. His name is Charlie, and it was very powerful for us. It was in our house, and it was like holy ground because really one of he was very clear. Nothing that happened to me caused me to drink, or made me drink, or try to control. But then he talked about the racism and injustice that he has gone through in his life and how it shaped him.
Yes.
And we need to be willing to have hard conversations.
We have to.
We
what?
have to.
If we can't have those conversations as the body of Christ, who's going to have the
Who's
conversation?
going to have it?
And I'm not afraid of the tough.
We've had some tough
conversation.
conversations. I
We
remember
have
with
to.
Ken
Yes.
but what happened
We
is
have to.
you listened,
Yes.
he listened.
Right.
He listened some
Yes.
more. I listened.
Right.
And I think that's what recovery is.
It's the basis of recovery.
Aren't we all
That's what we do.
listening
Yes.
and working through
Yeah.
our stuff, because it's progress, not perfection. But
Exactly.
listen, we're not staying in one place in recovery. We're either moving forward,
Right.
we're moving forward in our recovery, or we're moving backwards towards relapse.
Yeah.
There is no stagnation in recovery. And so that's one of the reasons why we have the things that we do, like why we have the summit. It's not because we want to just get together and,
Well, that
Cheryl
works.
and I
Coming
used
together
to, we love to show the hats
That's
and all
right.
this stuff.
Exactly.
But that's not why we do it,
Yeah.
because we want to be moving forward. We want to be learners, and leaders are definitely learners.
Yeah.
So are you excited?
Oh my gosh. So excited.
I'm excited. It's so good to see you.
Me too.
I miss you.
I know.
I miss you. All right, Cheryl, Luke, my friends.
Bye, guys.
Cheryl, Luke. I'm going to invite my husband to come back. Happy Father's Day, Ken Grider. I don't know what time it is, so
just a couple minutes
we have a couple minutes left. So do you have anything, Katie, you want to get the boys ready to do this, or anyone who wants to do the Serenity Prayer with us?
Jimmy, you coming?
But do you have any last thoughts? Anything that you want to add?
That was all wonderful.
Was it?
That was great. It's. I will say that as a team, the national team, we love to be together, and that this is strange, and that we couldn't just have a big love fest.
We can't
have
hug
to
each
have it
other. We got our
socially
masks on.
But there's a bunch of kids here that are ready.
We're gonna do the
We're-
Serenity Prayer, friends.
We're
So
about
we
to
got
see
the
if-
Griders. We've got our
they know
buddy
it.
who's like a Grider. Dylan, are you in? Come all the way over, Steven.
Come on in.
He's yeah.
Hey.
Okay, Dylan. Nobody can see Dylan. This is upsetting.
Hey.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
It's your boy.
You want to join us? All right.
your
You can
boy.
bring it up on the Celebrate Recovery app. Here we go. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next.
Amen.
Thank you, guys. All right, so if you are interested in going to the summit,
Nice job,
go to
Jimmy Beans.
crsummits.com and get a ticket. And it's all going to be online. We hope to see you there. Thank you for joining us. For those of you where Father's Day can be challenging, we just want you to know that your God sees you. He loves you. You are not alone.
And know that He is a good Father.
He alone is a good Father. So God bless you. We'll see you next time we do Facebook Live. I feel like we're running out of things to say. So
We should probably have a summit or
we
something.
should probably have a summit or something. So all right, you guys, have a great night.
Good night.
Love ya.